find fascinating because I've been on this sort of journey through motherhood where, I've always been a very liberal person, maybe even a libtard. But once you have a kid, you start like having thoughts that have been characterized as conservative. As soon as I had a kid, I was like, I need a gun now.
So no, I wasn't always political. But when you start coming for my kid, my God, and my rights, you're damn right I'll be loud.
The left is losing just as many young women to the conservative alt-right pipeline because they're underestimating how many young women want to be moms.
Okay. Oh, let's get at it. Let's talk about it today. And we've discussed this on previous videos that the Democrat Party is not appealing to the conservative male. They look at that and they say, nah, I'm good. They look over at them shenanigans and say, no, not so much. And so I've hypothesized that the Democrat Party, the liberal party, is actually the best marketing for the conservative party that conservatives have. Now, today, we're going to look at the same thing happening with liberal women, or dare I say, liberal women who lean conservative. Let's see how they feel being a part of the liberal machine. Do they stick to it and hang in there with their blue hair and their nose rings? What do they do? Let's get at it. Let's go. Let's find out.
But once you have a kid, you start like having thoughts that have been characterized as conservative. As soon as I had a kid, I was like, I need a gun now. Not for myself, because I've got coyotes in my yard. Right. I've got coyotes everywhere. And before I had a kid, I was like, they coexist with us. Coyotes were here first. Like, I'm in the coyotes' home. Now I'm like, let's make hats out of them.
Shout out to coexist with coyotes. Yo, that's crazy work. Everywhere, I'm fascinated by the fact that wildlife creeps into human life all the time. We have black bears here in North Georgia. We have various types of snakes. Of course, we got coyotes, and we have a ton of deer. We're getting ready for deer season soon enough. It is so interesting to me around the world, around the country, the different animal encroachments that you hear. I don't hear much about coyotes, though, but shout out to coyotes. Let's keep it rolling. Let's go.
Let's make coyote boots, coyote earrings out of their eyeballs. Like, it's just...
Hey.
Now, I know she's kind of doing a bit here. She's a comedian, not a great comedian, or even a good one, but she is a comedian. However, the point she's making is true. She's pointing to a deep truth and one of the most fundamental and important political realities of our age, actually, that people on balance are much more liberal before they have kids. And there's no doubt about that. This is especially true of women. Single women overwhelmingly vote Democrat. The majority of married women, however, vote Republican. We all know that this is pretty well known. So it's a very true, very real phenomenon. No question about it. That as people have kids, they become more conservative, less liberal. I've noticed this even with myself, believe it or not. Like, I've gotten more conservative as I've had more kids and as my kids have grown older. The longer I'm a parent, the more radically right-wing I get.
But I know liberal parents that have kids. So I guess I never thought about the quantity of them, if you will, or the shift. How many of them have moved over and become, I do know more conservative parents that have children. I can totally see that. But I know a lot of liberal parents too that have children as well. Or I think what it is, maybe this. Some of these people are like conservative undercover agents, but they still operate in a liberal mindset. Because y'all know I'm a former school teacher. There's a ton of school teachers that are very liberal, that have children, that engage and interact with your children on a regular basis. But now I'm thinking about it, I do know some who probably would fall under that. Don't tell nobody. 007. Don't let nobody know that I'm conservative, but I work and I engage and I operate in a liberal place, a liberal framework. Interesting.
Now, I've never been in my life liberal by most people's standards, but even from my extremely right-wing starting point, I have become even more right-wing after having kids. Before I was a parent, or when I was a young parent, I was more liberal on certain issues than I am now, believe it or not. Capital punishment is one. Drugs, marijuana legalization is another. I was pretty libertarian on both of those up to about 7 or 8 years ago. I wasn't nearly as hardcore as I am now on issues like crime, law and order. Because why is that? What's the reason? There must be a reason. Now, also, if you're a leftist, you're not very good at introspection. You're not very good at self-analysis. You're not very self-aware. So you probably aren't asking yourself these questions, but you should be. Why? There's no question that people become more conservative as they get married and have kids. This is not just anecdotal. Whitney Cummings could talk about her anecdotal story. I could talk about mine, but the data bears this out. So why? Well, the reason seems really clear. When you become a parent, two things change very quickly. Number one, you have a bunch of practical, real-world concerns that you didn't have before. It's not that you had no practical concerns before, but now you have a lot more. And as a parent, you're forced to deal, you do a lot of real world problem solving every day, all the time, constantly. You're dealing with real world problems on a really minute level, much more frequently than you ever did before you had kids. So you've got these little kids, you've got these little beings in your house that are constantly needing you to solve problems for them all the time. And you got those, you have those very specific kind of micro level problems, and you got the macro problems also that you deal with as a parent. How do I raise my kids? How do I raise them to be good people in this world? Those kinds of things. So being a parent forces you to be much more practical. That's the first thing. Second, when you're a parent, you now, and this is probably the more important point, is that you now have someone else in your life who you care for. You have someone else in your life who you love and must care for and about. Now, hopefully you get married before you have kids, in which case you should have someone who you love and care for in your life before your kids, which would be your spouse. And it's an extension of that. First, you discover the sacrificial love for your spouse, and from that love springs forth this new life who you love more than your life itself and who you care for and are obligated to care for and about. And that's the other big change. So what is it?
I'm not disagreeing. But I just don't know if I can see the correlation between being a parent and, again, let's say that you were myself. Let me use myself. I was never officially a Republican. I started my political journey as a libertarian. I didn't know much about politics. I found a libertarian who explained politics very well to me. I became a libertarian until I got married. So I was a libertarian most of my 20s. Yeah, just about most of my 20s. Then I got married, and it just started. I saw the conflict between my political views and where I thought, what was the end result of these political views? And during this time, I don't believe I would not say that I was a Christian. I was, Christian adjacent. By God's grace, several years later, I was saved. And then all of this other stuff started to make way more sense. I had already stopped professing and turned in my card-carrying libertarian status, and I was a Republican then. But even then, I didn't fully understand why all these other things didn't make sense to me that the liberals and conservatives and Democrats were doing, until I became a Christian and it all made sense. And I could see the problems, I could see the flaws. It is as if the scales came off my eyes. So I don't know if I can say per se that it's children. I do believe it's a sovereign work of God that ultimately one can see political problems and ideological problems on either side of the political spectrum is God's grace. Because, we could be blinded by our politics, hands down, no question there. I don't know if it's necessarily got to be with children, but hey, I invite you and welcome you for sure. But that's just me. Let's go.
It tells us that when you have to deal with practical, real world problems, number one, and number two, when you love someone and care for someone other than yourself, you tend to be more conservative. And what does that tell you? Well, this is why if I was a leftist, I would find this whole trend very, very disturbing. If I was the rare leftist with a capacity for self-analysis, I would look at this and go, oh man, that's a little, not sure how I feel about that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat then and say, maybe that's why. Let's say that everything that Matt Walsh said here is true. Again, I'm not really arguing that it's not. It's just, I think it needs to be teased out a little bit more, fleshed out a little bit more. But let's just say everything he says is true. Here's the tinfoil hat. Maybe that's why this particular party is so pro the deletion of little people, the transitioning of little people, dare I say, the non-protection of children in your own home, in your own household, in your womb. Maybe that's why they're so pushed for it, because they know that this little person has cracks the code and causes people to become more conservative. Just a thought, maybe so. I'm not 100% in agreement with Matt here. I'm not really an argument either, though.
Because it makes it absolutely undeniably clear that when people have fewer responsibilities and are more selfish, they tend to be more liberal. Immaturity and selfishness breed liberalism. Maturity and selflessness breed conservatism.
Honestly, I just wanted to raise kids, pay taxes without being robbed blind, and go to Target without seeing a drag show in aisle 6. But no, you guys couldn't let that happen, could you? You came for the kids first, but not with math or reading. No, because that would be just too traditional. You brought in gender identity lessons, chest binders in the nurse's office, and pride flags that somehow outnumbered the American flag. And when we said, hey, maybe let our kids be kids, you called us f***ing terrorists. Then you came for God. You said that faith was offensive. Churches, non-essential. But strip clubs and liquor stores, oh, those stayed wide open. Makes total sense, right? Jesus, banned. Cardi B, promoted. And don't even get me started on health. You injected half of the country with a medication you couldn't even pronounce. Made people lose their jobs over a rushed mandate. And then gaslit anybody who said, hey, this feels a little weird. But yeah, we're the crazy ones, right? We're the extremists because, well, we remembered how to think, right? You called us conspiracy theorists, and then our conspiracies came true. Again. So no, I wasn't always political. But when you start coming for my kid, my God, and my rights, you're damn right I'll be loud.
The left is losing just as many young women to the conservative alt-right pipeline because they're underestimating how many young women.
You know, I need to read this. Young women are being pushed to conservatism because the value of motherhood is lost on the left. And it feels like another form of misogyny. Comment down below. Do you agree with that? That's a very interesting take. Okay, wait. Young women are being pushed to conservatism because the value of motherhood is being lost on the left. Yes. Okay, I got you. Let me know in the comments. I think that is a very interesting take. Shout out to this young woman right here, and her TikTok. Yeah, I can rock with that. Let's go.
Want to be moms. And don't hear what I'm not saying. There's some women who are like, I don't know, I don't care, I'm not thinking about kids, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. There's some women who definitely know they don't want to have kids. That's perfect. And then there's still a large demographic of women who know that they want to be moms one day. And I feel, as somebody who considers myself to be very much on the left, and now as a mom, I feel like the messaging is constantly like, you want to just be a mom? You strive for motherhood, like you could be the CEO of something. Like, I get the intention behind it. We want to give women as many options as possible, but please don't forget, feminism is also including women who make the choice that they choose homemaking. And that has been a role that's been incredibly important to society for as long as we've been humans. It's an incredibly important job. It's an incredibly important role in society. And I don't know why there's all of a sudden this kind of feeling of like, it's such a waste of your life to do that. To completely abandon the demographic of young women that still strives for homemaking, being family oriented. That's not wrong. It's not bad. And I think we need to stop having this conversation as if it's like something that we've left behind in the past.
The reason Gen Z.
Hey, do you agree with that? I was feeling her. I felt like she really had something to say there. What do you think? Comment down below, please. Let's keep it going.
I mean, conservative is because people lean conservative when they don't feel safe. There's been psychological studies that have proven this. It's the same reason you can make a left-wing person a right-wing person. When people feel unsafe in their environment, they tend to lean much more conservative with regards to how they think and how they dress. It's also why they're so obsessed with cringe, because with a fear-induced conservative mindset comes a need to conform. They have to conform together to feel safe. It's like a herd of animals grouping together to feel safe when they feel threatened. As millennials, we grew up believing that we would have the same opportunity as our boomer parents, and then we realized they pulled all the drawbridges up behind them, and there was no opportunity left for us. Gen Z grew up knowing that the social contract had been broken, and there was no opportunity.
Okay. I'm having a hard time understanding where this young man is going because I keep getting distracted by the fact that his fingernails are painted. I am not a fan of this trend. May this trend go away, please. This trend is so ridiculous. Men with their fingernails painted is not the way to go.
or stability for them to be had. So that's why they've become conservative.
So I'm a conservative dad. Of course I'm raising lions, not sheep. I'm a conservative dad. Of course I teach my kids how to think, not what to think. I'm a conservative dad. Of course I teach my kids to respect their elders, women, and especially their mother.
Shout out. And by the way, what to think versus how to think is, let me tell you, as a dad, when your kids demonstrate and apply, I taught you how to put together a thought, how to come up with and sort out and discern. And you see it played out in your own children, and it doesn't go exactly the way you think it should go, but you know that they at least walk through the process that you taught them. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. It is a wonderful feeling. Shout out to this dad.
Conservative dad. Of course I teach my kids how to have thick skin, defend themselves, and take pride in their work, no matter how small of a task. I'm a conservative dad. Of course I teach my kids to lead by example, especially when it's unpopular. I'm a conservative dad. Of course I teach my kids that results come with consistency over time. I'm a conservative dad. Of course I talk to my boys like men, not children. Oh yeah, and we don't allow doom scrolling at dinner. And maybe most important of all, truth is compassion.
Once you have kids, you realize that maybe you don't want the state to be the one taking care of them. Okay, but there's a lot of people who do, though. I don't know if there's a true, once the child is born, it changes your mindset, because a lot of people don't care. But I understand this person. I agree with them. But there's just a lot of evidence that fights it as well. All right. Don't even take kids. Oh, sorry. Didn't even take kids for me. When you start making decent money and paying attention to how much is stolen from you while watching 300-pound people on scooters in Walmart pushing a cart full of garbage you paid for to feed their 50 IQ self, it makes you pretty conservative. Okay? You ain't gonna be able to beat them charges. They ain't gonna even shoot you any bail for that one. When you have kids, you also don't want certain things around them. Simple. Well, that is an easy answer. When you have a family, you need to grow up and take responsibility. Shout out to all the men that being married has made you more responsible. It has matured you way more than you even realize. Absolutely. By God's grace, having a wife, having kids, having, aging parents and all that kind of stuff and working in those dynamics, my goodness, in the morning, it will absolutely unequivocally mature you. No question at all. Life should not gravitate around partying, decadentness, or laziness, which is mostly encouraged by liberal policies. Shout out. No kids yet, but starting a business 100% switch me from a progressive to center-right conservative. And sorry about that. I'm about to start using only ones that are really big text. And on text, they hardcore libertarian. You become libertarian then. Fetus aren't humans. Versa baby. Oh, maybe they are. That's hilarious and true. She's right. Watching your children in the world will change your world view. Shout out to all the parents of kids that are about to go to college this week. I know mine is leaving for school this or last week here. It's changing me. It's changing her. It's changing my wife, her sister, everybody in this family, my mom. Everybody's getting changed because of this child about to go out into the world. When I became a mother, I also became a Christian. Shout out. All of a sudden, I wanted to truly follow God, and that naturally made me more conservative. Shout out. Absolutely. They want more employees, workers, and servants. I don't know about that one. I don't know how I feel about that one. I probably should have ended on that one. My bad. But thank you so much for rocking with us today. Let me know what you think about it. Do you agree with Matt Walsh's assessment that parenthood naturally makes you more conservative? Or do you think there's an extra ingredient? Like, I believe that becoming a Christian and a parent changed my life completely. And being a Christian, most importantly, did the heavy lifting. And being a dad, hey, it did do his work as well. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you so very much for liking the video. If you don't mind, let's do this again real soon. Until then, grace and peace.